About to start. So get it together, boys. This is a
we're together.
professional operation that we
Together.
have
We're
here
together.
on MJT Football. I'm your host, Tony Tucker. I am joined by NFL Mike on TikTok and the Joe Morley from TikTok. We're going to be talking football. We're talking the sneaky good free agent signings. We're also going to dip into the fantasy football because we love fantasy football, and it's never too early to start raising the hype on a player. And then we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson, selfishly, where we want him to land. But before we do that, we need to do a quick check. We're going to play the video. We're going to do a quick check. Did Jimmy G pass that physical? What is going on in Vegas?
Keep my quarterback's name out your mouth.
Coming with some heat right away. Again, this is MJT Football. We are three friends who love talking about football, but we're always looking for a fourth. So become one of the fours. We're going to get this thing going, Mike. Become one of the fours. Hit the subscribe button so you know, the notification bell will let you know when we go live. And you can get in here and talk football and let us know when we are saying things out of pocket or just what your general opinions are. And help us become better, more well-rounded, educated fans about your fan base and your team. Let's start off here. Joe, you were super loud about that, about vent your frustrations about Jimmy G and what happened yesterday. Because I know you were looking forward to the press conference, and then nothing happened.
Yeah, the press conference was supposed to be for Jimmy G yesterday at noon. Everybody else that the Raiders have signed showed up. Myers showed up, Spillane showed up. Everybody showed up, and they were talking to the media. Well, guess who didn't show up? Jimmy G. They and the embarrassing thing was the Raiders were already showing videos of him walking in the facility, doing all this stuff, and they were like, "Our quarterback's here." And then all of a sudden, they had the beat writer sitting there for 2 hours doing absolutely nothing. All the beat writers were like, "Where's it at?" It's dead silent, dead quiet. Then the Raiders didn't say nothing. They just came out and said, "Press conference rescheduled till tomorrow." Nothing came out. Now this morning they said Raiders and Jimmy G officially signed the deal. It's done. Press conference at noon, which is going to start in just a few minutes. If he shows up again, all the beat writers are making fun of it. And now the Raider beat writers are fighting with themselves, going, if you said he failed the physical, it's fake news. If you said this, it's all this. And like I was talking to Tony off the air before Mike showed up, because Mike always shows up late. If you guys want to know why we're late, Mike. Anyways, I was telling Tony off the air, why if the Raiders found something in the physical of Jimmy G, what good would it be for them to come out and say it at all? There's already questions about his durability and his injury history. So if you're going to keep and you're going to sign him and you're just going to rework the contract just a little bit to fix yourself from the injury that he has, there's no point of you actually coming out and say, well, we found Jimmy G's ankle wasn't 100%, but we feel that by season it's going to be 100%. So we just reworked a couple things. No, you're just going to bullshit your way through it, give a couple of fake answers, and everybody's going to forget about it in a few days. So I think that's what the Raiders did. They found something, but they wanted to sign him anyways because Tony doesn't believe me. But if the Raiders didn't sign Jimmy G, right, and that contract didn't go through, that's way worse PR than just having a little bit of a hiccup on a contract.
Mike, go.
Oh, no, I'm enjoying all of it. That's why I let him take a jab at me in the middle and everything. Didn't say anything because I'm enjoying every second of this. I was a little scared because I was like, oh, well, if Jimmy G backs out of this, then maybe they could go after, someone that's good. So I'm glad he's good to go, whether he partially failed his physical, whatever it was. Names on the dotted line. Jimmy G's a Raider, and that means that all the current Raiders are soon to be ex-Raiders.
Well, so there's nobody left for them to get that's good because all the other quarterbacks have signed, and Aaron Rodgers intends to play for the Jets. Now, the best thing for the Packers would be for the Raiders to say, hey, we want in on the Aaron Rodgers business because then the Packers are going to be able to get whatever crazy packages that they want. I want this to be an Aaron Rodgers free show. This guy just permeates every single conversation. But with the thing with Jimmy G, Joe, I don't care if the guy, I want to see his x-ray and then there's just no cartilage left. Like there's just nothing inside. It's just this beautiful human body with no bones and no cartilage and nothing left. because you can't sign a player who has an injury history and is failing this is a general physical. Like, it's not like they're doing crazy stuff. I mean, maybe they are, but come on, you can't pass the physical. He hasn't played football in like 5 months.
And I was thinking the hiccup might have been right around the same time the Patriots released Brian Hoyer. So they were probably like, oh, another Patriot quarterback that we could get? Bring him on over. So I was thinking maybe that was the hiccup. I don't know. Like, anytime they were like, who else are you going to release over there in New England? We'll take them.
Send them all.
Wow.
Send them all. What if Jimmy just got distracted by some of the perks of living in Vegas?
Could be
walking to the stadium, walking down the street. Oh, look at that over there. Some
I think he's too handsome. The other guys were like, we're not sharing a stage with this man. Like, they got their Spillane was like, I have to stand next to that guy. Get out of here. He's not. You gotta push his press conference till tomorrow.
Yeah, make it his own day, Jimmy G Day. I don't know that. Like, yesterday would have been perfect. Like, because yesterday was 316, Austin 316 day, right? It would have been perfect if it would have just like you hear the music come out and another quarterback walks out, like Derek Carr comes back. I'm back, bitches. Like that, you would have made the whole day. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but it's not a Raider offseason without drama.
Yeah, this is a lot of hubbubaloo for a 5-win football team. So free agents, we're not going to cover a lot of them, but Mike Gesicki signed with the Patriots. I thought that was interesting. This is going to be more about under the radar. I thought 1 year, $9 million is a tremendous deal for the New England Patriots. But for our first topic of the show, and if you're listening to this, the audio version, head on over to YouTube and subscribe and all of that stuff. I forgot to do that at the beginning. Let's talk about some under-the-radar free agent signings that are happening, and I encourage people in the chat, if you're watching this, who's somebody out there that you're like, oh, that team got a good player that it's not really talked about, but we know who they are, we know what they could do, and they could produce in that situation. Mike, you want to start things off?
Yeah, we're going to go one for one here. Or do you want me to give both?
You can give them both.
All right. The first one I have here, just because I think it's a really good fit as far as the locker room goes and as far as the team and the player goes, is Patrick Peterson, who, isn't the same Patrick Peterson that he was in previous years, but they're getting him towards the twilight time of his career. They're getting a Patrick Peterson that still has some fuel in there, as we saw last year in some of his games against the Cardinals, especially against the Bills. And they're getting a motivated player that's going to come in and lead the younger guys, but also contribute with quality football. It kind of reminds me of when the Steelers had Joe Hayden in some of his highlight years. They had Joe Hayden more closer to his prime, but a similar deal here. And then the biggest one, the one that I think could end up being the signing of free agency, and it's crazy because I feel like this team got the signing of free agency last year with Hassan Reddick, is Rashad Penny to the Eagles. And the biggest thing is that offensive line is going to open up holes for a running back that we already know can average 6 yards per carry. So what can he do with a superhuman O-line? It's just whether or not Rashad Penny's healthy or not. But if he is healthy, he's going to be a beast in that Philly offense with Jalen Hurts, especially if they don't add anyone else. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be Penny, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell. Penny's the number one there.
Yeah, I love the Pat Peterson one. Rashad Penny was on my longer list in case there's any duplicates. I did put some extras on there. Rashad Penny's definitely on there because it's legitimate health is the only thing that stopped him from being a very good player in the NFL. So that's good. Polly Figs here in the chat. Jimmy G will be better than Derek Carr. I don't know about that.
What?
I don't know about running.
The training staff will love Jimmy G more than Derek Carr.
That's funny. Joe, what do you think about Mike's? And then go ahead right after that and give yours.
No, I like where Mike's coming from, and I actually had it written down too, but I went a different direction because I figured a lot of us would do it. But mine, I was telling Tony, I go, I guess it's our show. We can do whatever we want. So I came up with a duo. So this is a team that signed two guys that play the same position, put them together, and I think it's a great deal that they got, and it's under the radar signings that this team got is the Detroit Lions. They signed Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley, both of them to play defensive back for them. I think adding them both together on a defense that you saw struggle, especially against the pass last year in Detroit, I think adding both of them is a great addition. And even though Cam Sutton should be a bigger name than it is, both of those aren't big names out there that you're like, oh, because everybody was talking about Darius Slay, Bradbury, all those other guys this year. Nobody was talking about Cam Sutton or Emmanuel Mosley. So I think adding those two to the Detroit Lions, to a team that's already moving up in the standings and made great strides last year, adding to that defense is great. So I like those two signings as one, not individually, but as one. I think making that division or making that position a strength now instead of a weakness. My other one, Tony, and you're probably going to laugh at this one, and this is probably like a homer pick from the Raiders, but when I saw this signing, I was pissed off, and I was like, I couldn't believe it, because it's going to make my team, the Raiders, look like shit. It's going to make us look like shit again.
Hang on, Joe. He's on my list, and I was going to troll the shit out of you with this next one. Go.
Clelin Ferrell. Ferrell went to the San Francisco 49ers. And for all you Raider fans that are out there, get ready for him. Get ready to hear his name a lot, because Ferrell came on towards the end of last season. He came on. He only has 4 years in the league. He was the number 4 overall pick. Something that Mike Mayock, who is a draft expert in most people's eyes, saw why to take him early, and the Raiders just haven't used him correctly. He just didn't come in right. I think Gruden hated on him a little bit more than he should have. But you saw it. He has 10 sacks in 4 years, 2 of them this year from the last year. His last couple of games when Chandler Jones went down, he started playing good. Now you add him to that San Francisco defensive line that knows how to rotate it. He's not going to be the number one guy. They're not expecting much out of him. He's going to ball out for San Francisco, especially with all the players that they already have there. So Clelin Ferrell is a very underrated signing for the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, my goodness. I love it, Joe. I was going to say all of the same exact things you said about it, because what he is coming into is going to allow him to be reach potential that they originally thought they were getting with the 4th overall pick. And he's being coached up by Wilkes. And you still have the linebackers and the secondary. Like, this young man, if healthy, is going to eat so nicely, because Paul Viggs put in here Hargrave, triple question mark. The problem is that's not under the radar. That's like the biggest contract we've seen in the free agency so far. That was headlining the news. And then you have Bosa there. If Javon Kinlaw can stay healthy, like, he's so good. Like, one of the players that was going to be on my list was going to be Arden Key, who ended up with the Titans, because I thought Arden Key might go to the Texans and reconnect with DeMeco Ryans. But going to a team like the Titans and playing next to Jeffrey Simmons is just another great move. But anytime you can get to the 49ers, this is why Sam Darnold is so interesting there. Like, imagine what we just watched Brock Purdy do amazing things. We watched Jimmy G do amazing things. If Trey Lance does not come out kicking, Sam Darnold could be on that list. Mike, get in on this fun. Let's make fun of the Raiders and how Clelin Ferrell is going to be a Pro Bowler next season for the 49ers.
Well, you would think that Chris Kirchek would get more love being the defensive line coach too. And maybe with DeMeco Ryans being gone, well, they still brought in Wilkes, but maybe with DeMeco Ryans being gone, you'll see a little bit more emphasis on the defensive line coach in Chris Kirchek in San Francisco. And San Francisco's doing it right. I mean, you're learning. That's the way to win in this league. Have a rotating defensive line. You saw it last year with Philadelphia and 49ers. Rotate that defensive line. You get to the quarterback, you're going to win a lot of games.
I think that's becoming the new mode for just, playing defense in this league in general, because there's no defending the pass. It's more about shortening the amount of time the quarterback has to throw the pass than defending the actual pass itself, because DBs are so handicapped, and now they're about to drop even more rules on tackling and coverage. Yeah, the DBs basically should just go out there and with their hands basically taped into a ball so they can't do anything.
That's an interesting concept. They have to get it taped up, like when you break your hand and they put it in that cast. DBs just have to play out there with like nubs.
And they still get holding penalties. They're like, you hooked them with your elbow somehow.
Yeah, exactly. James Bradbury played the entire game with his hands in his pockets, and then he still gets a humongous call at the end of the game because it's the Chiefs. Of course, the Chiefs get every call. I love it. All right, we're gonna go to my two, and I'm trying to figure out which one of these guys I want to save for the potential fantasy segment. You know what? I'll save both of them, and I'll go with Azeez Al-Shaair, the linebacker from San Francisco, going to the Titans. I think that this is a very good move for the Titans. A lot of people think that the Titans are kind of punting on the season. I don't necessarily think that's the case at all. Like, maybe even if they trade Derrick Henry, they still draft Hassan Haskins from Michigan. And I know a lot of people don't know him, but this is a guy who produced at Michigan, and then they got him because he's a Titans kind of player. He was a star on special teams, earned his way, produced at running back. And I think that they would be fine maybe drafting another guy and having him there. And Ryan Tannehill, if they don't give up on Tannehill, I don't see the Titans punting on the season and are still going to cause a lot of problems for teams when they play him. Because could you imagine asking Vrabel to not be good? Like, that dude is just way too competitive. Like, he still looks like sometimes if they're playing bad at halftime, I expect Vrabel to come out padded up and be like, let me show you weenies how this is done. I'm going to go dominate this right now. So I like that. Just really anybody from San Francisco I think is great. The other name that I'm going to say right here, this guy had an amazing rookie season, and then I really feel like Urban Meyer kind of ruined his career. But James Robinson was then traded a few times or played on a few teams last season, the Jags, and played for the Jets. Going to the Patriots just always produce in their running game. It's the formula, whatever it is. And I think that Ramondre Stevenson, just to stay healthier, is going to be more of a passing down back. He's a better version of Kevin Falk that they used to have. But then James Robinson is going to be able to play that more Corey Dillon, that Damian Harris role. And I think that we could see James Robinson get back to what he was doing and really help out Mac Jones. So I like James Robinson a lot in that Patriots offense and scheme and coaching.
Tony, I think the Patriots should just be satisfied with their running back room. We'll trade him a third or a fourth for Ramondre, and boom, there we go.
Mike, I was going to say that Robinson could be your favorite New England running back since James White.
No. My favorite is definitely Ramondre Stevenson, 100%. That's of all time, by the way, Patriots running backs.
So that signing right there, Tony, that closes the door on Damian Harris comeback?
I believe so. I think that they were kind of already out. Damian Harris really struggles to stay healthy. He'll have 2-3 good games in a row. Like, he's a very good player, but there's always some sort of soft tissue injury, and that's not going to work with the Patriots. Like, you have to be available. You got to be focused and work hard and be available. Good luck, Juju.
Especially when they got 10 running backs to go back on. It's like, yeah, next guy. Dame Harris Jr.'s next up.
Yeah, because they also drafted the really fast guy last year, Pierre Strong. So he's also in the building too. Like, I think that they tend to go 2 or 3 deep at running back, but James Robinson feels like he's going to come in there and be the guy that you're going to see a lot at the goal line, and you're going to see a lot late in games where they have leads, because he's a good running back. Like, he may not have all the tools like Ramondre Stevenson, but Bill loves to have multiple backs, and James Robinson is going to have a really nice impact for that Patriots team, I think.
Yeah, Bill will even throw a cornerback back there, or safety, or linebacker.
Okay. I was going to say, it seems like Patriots are always good on running backs and cornerbacks. They could just put whoever in at those 2 positions, and they're good with it. As they cut Jalen Mills today, that was my little roll.
Yeah, they had who was the guy? Was it Dante Scarnecchia? Whoever that offensive line coach was there forever and ever. Like, that was the guy that was just like, it didn't matter. Like, Cole Strange 10 years ago would have been an All-Pro. You know, like, And that's why I think it is kind of weird. Isaiah Wynn, I was looking at this. We brought him up yesterday as one of the tackles that's available. I thought he was older. He's only 26 years old. Like, I just assumed Patriots didn't re-sign him or give him an offer or anything because he was older. 26. Got some good football left. Plenty of it. Okay. Horrible transition. We're going to cut this out, even though we don't do any editing here on JT's podcast. But
you told me that we do editing. There was a lot of times in shows that I needed it cut out, and you said we're going to take care of that. You never cut those out.
This isn't even actually what Joe looks like. Like, we have a filter on at all times over his face to make him look better.
Always.
Do it.
I am. I'm trying to get there.
I just have the hots.
There it is. That was for Mike. I got another good one from Joe yesterday too, but I couldn't figure out how to get it edited. Let's start our fantasy hype season. We're all going to pick one player. Again, if you're in the chat, one player that is gone to a new place that you are very excited about potentially drafting for fantasy. Who wants to start?
Joe, you go first in this one.
I'm going to take Mike's guy from the earlier segment, and I'm going to say Rashad Penny with the Philadelphia Eagles. If he can stay healthy, he had 6 yards per carry the last 2 years in Seattle, and we consider Seattle not to have good offensive line, right? And now he goes a team that has a good offensive line, has a quarterback that you have to, and wide receivers that you have to be scared of. So if Rashad Penny can stay healthy, I think he's going to run all damn day and have a lot. And he might get vultured from the touchdowns from Jalen Hurts, but Rashad Penny.
Keep going. I'm just
This is because I'm working on my tan. I'm working on my tan while I'm sitting here. Anyways, I like him. So I think Rashad Penny would be a good one. And I think last year, a couple of years, everybody's been drafting Rashad Penny, but not as high. And I think as we get more towards the season and you see a preseason game or so, more people are going to bring him. And he might be overhyped this season. So I think he might go way too high. But I think it's somebody that I'm going to look at throughout most of the mock drafts that we're going to do is Rashad Penny because of that offense and what we've seen running backs do in that offense.
Good choice, Joe. That was a good choice. I have Rashad Penny on my list as well, obviously, because I talked about him earlier in the show. But I think the biggest one for me and a guy that I'm excited to really get digging into is Chris Olave. He just had a magnificent rookie season with a mixture of quarterbacks, random quarterbacks that he had to use throughout the year there in New Orleans because they didn't have the best luck with quarterback health. And I think when I've been looking, I was just double checking right now too while you're talking, Joe. On Fantasy Pros, he's ranked at 21 right now. I feel like this guy could easily have 1,200 yards and 5, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, and maybe even a few handoffs, a few carries and like speed options and stuff like that. When you have consistency at this quarterback position, MT coming back is a little concerning. Jarvis Landry being healthier is a little concerning. But I think when you get all these guys in the field together, when you talk about injuries and everything in between age, I think Chris Olave might be the best receiver, best available option for Derek Carr throughout the season next year.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. What were you gonna say, Joe?
Well, I like that because the first one that I wrote down and I went away from it because it's not really a hype guy, and I don't think he can repeat his performance from last year was Jamal Williams, and we talked about him yesterday signing with him. So I like what the New Orleans Saints offense is, and I'm not fading the Saints this year, guys. I'm not fading the Saints. So I think Mike's onto it. I think that offense is going to be a little bit better and be a lot more fantasy worthy come this season.
Zero's catching on to the game. I was not going to say anything to Mike. It was supposed to be a player that went to a new spot. So I'll give Mike credit for that. He's excited about Derek Carr.
That's what I mean. Yeah. The effect of a new player going to a new spot. Sorry, Zero. Didn't play the rules. I have another one that's similar, but I'll let Tony go.
I understood what you were going, Mike. I knew where you were going.
I should introduce better. I should have introduced better.
I should have produced better. I should have been more specific, but I will say that I was giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I just like that word he used. Dingus.
Dingus? Yeah. That was an insult from my youth for sure.
YouTube friendly.
We'll get to this. We'll answer this in a second here. Let me say the player that I'm excited about, Deonta Foreman, signing a deal with the Bears. The way he ran there, what the Bears have been doing this offseason, I think that there's going to be a great opportunity for them to run RPOs. And if they have to honor that with what Justin Fields can do, the amount of times he's going to get to keep the ball, Deonta Foreman could be looking at having, 1,200 yards rushing this year for the Bears. Because anytime you see that sort of dynamic, and I always reference the same one, Alfred Morris and RG3. When you have that sort of a dynamic next to it, a player can just sneak in there that is of average ability and become a superstar. So Deonta Foreman's the one player for me where it's like, if he's still on the board and this is my first running back, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I wonder what the Bears back
look like. Deonta Foreman as your running back one in fantasy football this year.
My strategy is going so far. You guys are going to be like, well, Tony, what are you doing?
How did we lose to this guy, Mike? How did we lose to this guy?
I mean, everyone gets lucky once in a while, but
I beat Mike in two different leagues this year.
I wonder what the dynamic's going to look like with Foreman and Herbert in that backfield. They're kind of similar style backs, power backs that kind of run on getting the defense tired. I wonder how they're going to use them late in the fourth quarter. These two are going to be going back and forth and be completely fresh and healthy, running at this Vikings defense with a bunch of rookies and going to destroy the hell out of them.
I think Khalil Herbert's better in the passing game and has more burst. So I could see that more like screen game as to where when it's time to bring the hammer down, Foreman's coming in and getting 12 to 14 carries a game and just gashing people and playing a lot inside the red zone.
And that Foreman signing might have kept Eckler in LA. It looks like the trade talks have went cold, according to reports.
And the Dolphins, too, were another team that I was worried about, and they signed all four of their running backs from last year. They brought back Myles Gaskin, Savant, Ahmed, Wilson, and Mostert. So that's another team. Yeah, the Panthers locked up somebody. The Saints got somebody. So, yes, I'm really hoping that Eckler doesn't go anywhere. Let's answer this question here from – can you put that one back on, Mike? I messed up.
Duct Tape Dynasty?
Yeah, Duct Tape's question here. Will the Chargers be able to do anything in that division? Duct Tape Dynasty. Will they? Without question, they'll be able to do something in the division, right? Like, they were very close last year, had a ton of injuries. So why wouldn't they be able to do something this year if they can even just have average health, like average NFL health to the star players? So you can keep your left tackle in place. That would be a nice place to start there. And you could keep at least one of your two $20 million receivers on the field at the same time. That's a great place to start. Then you get an upgraded offensive coordinator. So will they be able to do anything in that division? Yes. Am I saying they're going to beat the Chiefs? I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to start that in March. I'm not going to start that. I'm going to save that till August.
Yeah, I was about to say, what are you saying about people who say the Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs in March, huh? Calling them idiots?
Yeah. Are they idiots? Or are they dinguses?
Are they dinguses? Yeah, the Chargers are going to be able to do something in the division, but yeah, the Chiefs are the team that needs to be run down. I will say, I've been quiet about it. The Chiefs are losing players left and right. They're losing guys. It's not like the Chiefs are having this super improved offseason. Maybe they'll maintain what they've been, and I'll give them credit now because the last year's overreaction maybe. But I don't think that they're miles and miles ahead of the Chargers. So I still think they're 4 to 7 points in the matchups ahead of the Chargers. And the Chargers are always going to be competitive with the Chiefs as long as they got one guy. Joe, show them the shirt. Show it off. Oregon didn't just create one of the Raider greats, Marcus Mariota. It also created Justin Herbert.
So, Mike, that 4-point difference, the 4-point difference you're talking about is this guy right here. It's the coach. It's what comes down to the coach. Yeah. All the Chiefs games come down to a field goal. They come down to 3 or 4 points, and that is when you get the difference in coaching. And that's if Brandon Staley takes that next step and he can elevate himself, then, yeah, we've seen defensive coaches get out of the gate and struggle a little bit to form identities. We've seen it with Belichick. We've seen it with Pete Carroll. So year 3, the defense should take the next. This defense should take the next step. There's enough talent.
In the words of Skip Bayless, it's my turn. It's my turn.
We're skipping you.
Yes. Will the Chargers be able to do anything in this division? Yes. Continuously lose to the Denver Broncos and be the only team that lets the Broncos stay in this division. But yes, look, the Chargers don't even think they're going to be able to do anything in this division. They're already petitioning the NFL so they can, hey, if we don't win the division, but we have a better record than a wild card team, can we be ranked higher than them in the playoffs, please? That's the only way the Chargers can get a home playoff game is if they change the way they rank the playoff teams. Come on, Chargers don't even believe in themselves, and you want people to believe in them.
Are you done?
You done yet?
Could be.
Jesus.
Looking like Lenny Kravitz now.
Only
See what
Raiders fans.
See what you did, Duct Tape Dynasty?
Only Raiders fans can go on rants like that about, oh, well, they're not going to beat just the Broncos.
Hey,
That's all y'all got. That's all y'all got.
Look at this. I'm a Charger fan.
Screenshot that. Screen-record that. Don't edit that out. Don't edit that out. Leave it in. Editors, leave that in. What just happened?
Oh, man. Tony Pro back again today to put out some more Raiders discussed. Welcome back, Tony. There it is. 0-17.
The Raiders were on pace to go 0-17 until today when they signed Jimmy G. Jimmy G showed up, and he's wearing all black today. Looks amazing.
That's why he didn't have the right wardrobe on yesterday.
That could be it. And he doesn't have all the buttons all the way up, so you're seeing a little bit of chest. Whew, Jimmy G.
Yeah. He needed to get a better shave going, too. Tony, here's the only bad thing about the Raiders going 0-17. That locks them into Caleb Williams next year. And that is something I don't want because Caleb Williams is one of those players that I want to cheer for. So I'm hoping, like my real hope is that an NFC team, because we need some better quarterbacks in the NFC, an NFC team just takes a dirt nap early in the season and just goes 1-16. And Caleb Williams for sure is locked into fill in the blank. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The Los Angeles Rams.
That'd be fun, right?
Sean McVay, Caleb Williams. Put them together. Bada boom.
Bada bing.
Dude,
anyway.
I throw throwing daggers out here. Let's finish off with just a little bit of
Donald Parham, Charger.
Hit us up. Mr. Joke says Chargers are better than yes. At the beginning of the season, the Chargers are always better than the Raiders. But when they have to play late in the season, they get the ass kicked. Bow, bow, bow. Tell him, Mike.
Y'all got lucky, holding on whatever quarter. I don't know. Anyways, Donald Parham, Chargers, Tony.
Right before halftime, Mike. It was right before halftime, and Harris got called with that BS uncatchable ball. And that
was years ago. We've forgotten about that game. That game never happened.
And then last year, Staley had
a little bit of NFL news right now. Alan Lazard said he can't wait to have number 12 throwing him the ball in New York. So is that going to happen sometime today? We'll see.
The Packers are not. They are in no rush to get this done. Go look at what the Packers have done in free agency. They've signed 2 players. Some O-lineman I've never heard of, and Dixon, the return special, the quick, shifty guy they had who was making plays for him. That's all they've done because they are in no rush to do anything. They don't need to be. And the Packers are never really big in free agency anyways, but they're not in any hurry. They're gonna milk this out for the Jets as long as they can. Somebody made a good point today on one of the shows I was listening to, though, that part of the thing that's good for the Jets is that Rodgers already knows. He knows Nathaniel Hackett's offense. And if he wants to get together and throw with Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and some of these guys, he has the freedom to do so. Yes, hello? Mike, who's on the phone?
This is Tom Telesco. Yeah, can I speak with Mark and Brian? Yeah.
Yeah.
we know you guys are tanking. We know you guys are just ready to go either direction here on Jordan Love. We'll give you a 4th round pick for AJ Dillon. No
I'm
takers?
in. I'm in. They're not trading AJ Dillon.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. One of the interesting players from the Jets, though, I think could get released. 2 of them is Denzel Mims, or trade him at least Corey Davis, because now you look at the Jets wide receiver room and it's pretty deep. And you already had Elijah Moore last year complaining about how he wasn't getting the football enough. So a lot of talent, a lot of human beings who can catch footballs there.
Yeah.
Hey, how about a little bit of NFL news? How about the Seattle Seahawks, Tony? You liking their offseason? Because I am. I'm liking what they're doing. They brought in Draymond Jones, the defensive lineman. They brought in Devin Bush yesterday, and then today they signed Julian Love, the safety from New York Giants. So they're doing a lot of stuff on defense over there.
I like Julian Love. He was even who was he talking smack about? Was he talking smack about the Eagles or something like that?
Yeah, he was talking crap about the Eagles.
Yeah, he's a really good player. I think he would have been a great under the radar signing, because what's going on with Jamal Adams? Is this guy ever going to play football again? Is he switching to linebacker? Like, what? I really want to know, because he used to be so much fun and exciting to play, and then injuries have just wrecked his career. His time in Seattle has just been marred by injuries.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with Jamal Williams.
I haven't heard anything.
We've always said that when Seattle made that deal, it was never a great deal for them, giving up all that for his safety, and so it hasn't turned out to it. But Seattle got lucky, hit it good with Geno Smith, which allows them to go out and make other needs this offseason. So good for Seattle, and a lot of us were counting them out last year, and they proved us wrong, and I think they're going to do it again this year.
Jamal Adams basically held them hostage. He said, trade 1st round picks for me, and then you also need to pay me. Otherwise, I'm not going to play.
Yeah, pay me. And then we have one more NFL thing that I texted you guys early this morning about is Jonah Williams from the Bengals, the offensive tackle. Bengals brought in Orlando Brown, and now he's saying, I want out. Trade me. He's like, what is he, 26 years old?
Oh, John Williams.
I went and did a little contract research on this one. He's on his 5th-year option with them. Like, he's not being paid that much. So they should be able to move him. Like, if he does want to be traded, there's teams that need a left tackle, and you might be able to get a 2nd-round pick for somebody like that has a potential from Alabama. Like, he's a good player. I don't think that he's necessarily the problems that they've had with their offensive line in the past. So maybe the Bengals can get something out of this.
Is he a better left tackle than Orlando Brown?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but I don't know enough about offensive line play really to know, like, what his issues are, why they felt the need to go out and sign somebody for $64 million when they had this person on a much cheaper contract. I don't know what's going on.
Raphael's here. Well, what do you guys think about this? We were talking about fantasy impact of some of the movement around the league. Do you guys think, and I have it written down here, that if Rodgers gets dealt to New York, is that gonna help Breece Hall's fantasy value or hurt Breece Hall's fantasy value?
In my opinion, it helps it, because when you have somebody that is going to keep your offense on the field and move the chains, you're going to get more opportunities. When you're going to get more red zone opportunities, and you have that ability, like, especially too, when they go to a 3-wide set, single back, Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to say, like, oh, we got him in the look that we want. I'm gonna audible you to the right run, to the right. We're gonna get our line protections right. I'm gonna be able to get him into the screen, because we saw what he's able to do with Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones has been fantastic in the NFL. He doesn't have juice like Breece Hall does. Yeah. And so I think that there's a little bit of a delay depending on where he's at with the knee injury coming back. But other than that, why wouldn't having a better quarterback help you?
I'm with you. I agree.
Like,
I thought Joe was shaking his head. I don't know.
Yeah, because Joe hates Aaron Rodgers because he chose the Jets over the Raiders.
Easy choice, by the way.
I just don't know why. I'm just not crowning the Jets as champions as soon as Aaron Rodgers gets there. I don't know why everybody else is. It's still a tough ass division over there. You still got Miami and Buffalo in that division that you got to deal with, and all of a sudden it's like Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, and all of a sudden they're Super Bowl contenders. Like, we've heard this before, right? We've seen this before. Just because Aaron Rodgers is going over there, you're getting a guy who just said that he's 90% sure he doesn't want to play football anymore, and then now all of a sudden, you know what? I'll come back out because they didn't believe in me and they want to get rid of me. Like, I'm not. And now you want me to believe that he can make Breece Hall better? Breece Hall was good because they had nothing else to go with, and I don't think it's going to improve his value. And even if he's 100%, we got to make sure that he comes back from that. But I think if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, which is all indications that it's going to happen, he's going to try to be the Aaron Rodgers show, and all he wants to do is show off and throw the dead ball deep. And I don't think it's going to be as great as everybody thinks it is. I'm going down on the Jets right now.
So it's safe to say if you're picking at 8 and I'm picking at 9, I should probably bank that Breece Hall is going to make it to me.
Yeah, you can have him. I'm not taking Breece Hall in the first round of any draft if you're talking about that.
It's
coming back
Joe
from a big injury.
I'm gonna put Joe in a corner right here. He will change his opinion on Breece Hall by the time we get to fantasy draft. He's gonna look at the board and he's gonna go, well, I don't love that situation. That person's definitely in a committee. Like, there's no question in my mind that once Breece Hall is back and healthy, that he's going to get the lion's share of the work. How many other running backs can you say are in that position right now?
Yeah.
Not that many. That's important.
I think
value goes up. Michael Carter's goes up.
I think for Rodgers' success at this stage in his career, at this point, it will be very, very smart of the Jets to still be maybe not run first, but maybe 51-50 or 55-45. Let's get the ground game going because Breece Hall is a special football player. And then one more. DeAndre Swift. Is his career ruined? Is it done? Are we calling it? Is that a wrap?
What? Why?
Why are they signing David Montgomery, who's basically just like DeAndre Swift's Walmart, David Montgomery's Target? What are they doing?
I think they're different players, but we've seen that DeAndre Swift cannot get 250 touches a year. So we saw this with. Imagine if Reggie Bush played football today, how much better and how much smarter he would be used in these offenses than what he was used when he was in these other. He kept getting hurt and high ankle sprains, and they weren't, in my opinion, maximizing his ability in Detroit or in New Orleans. So, like, now I think DeAndre Swift can be a better player with 15 touches a game as opposed to having back-to-back 25 touch weeks. Like, that's not good.
I'm just saying for fantasy football, is that it? Like, no one's gonna, unless there's an injury.
For fantasy, I probably wouldn't draft either Lions running back before probably the fourth round. Like, I think they just eat too much into each other's value. The thing is, if you're going with the strategy that I will be going with, where I will not be drafting a running back until like the fourth or fifth round in any league I'm involved in this year, one of those guys is interesting. Yeah, Rashad. All of those guys that are going to be down there on that list, the Deontay Foremans, Rashad Pennies, all of those. I might look at Gainwell. It's going to be.
I'm hoping that everyone does that, and then my RB core is like Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, and 2007 Marshawn Lynch. I hope that's who falls to me.
Well, that'll be great because my wide receiver core is going to be like Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf,
We're bringing back Mock Draft Monday this Monday.
Mock Draft Mondays on Monday.
Let's talk about Lamar. We'll end the show talking about the ideal spot for Lamar Jackson. And as everybody knows and everybody's already talked about, he came out on Twitter and said that he turned down 3 years, $133 million. That's $40-something million. I was, promised that I wasn't going to have to do math. It's $40-something million a year. Would have put him in the top 5 highest paid QBs. And my thing is, like, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I would be, look, I've been saying this all along. Why aren't you looking for that team that's going to give you 3 years, $150 million? And if that contract comes across, that now puts you as the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to redo something to bring his number down a little bit. So now you'd be getting that $50 million a year guaranteed for the next 3 years. Then you're going to be 29. You're going to be a free agent again. Somebody made a great point this morning. He should negotiate in the contract that he cannot be franchise tag at the end of the 3 years, so that he will be a legit free agent after making $150 million guaranteed. And next 3 years, stay healthy, ball out, and get whatever you want.
Well, okay. I like what you're going, Tony. Like, if somebody came and offered 3 years, 140, 3 years, 150, and fully guaranteed, that changes it. When I saw when people are giving a hard time for passing up on the 133, that's only like what, $42 million, something like that, like you just said. It's not even putting them in that range. I don't think that, like, Lamar's like, hey, I'm the top guy. I won the MVP. Put me in higher up. Put me with Patrick Mahomes. You put him at Patrick Mahomes, $45, $46 million, even a little higher, then I think he takes it. But I also think that in the back of his mind, he's like, man, I've been getting my ass kicked the last couple of years. Do I want a longer contract than 3 years to fully? Because I know people are like, well, you can do 3 years and then do another 3 years and then another 3 years. But we're going into uncharted territory with the guy, Tony. Me and you and Mike have talked about this before. We've never seen a running quarterback like Lamar Jackson go into his 30s and after that and see what happens and how much he can stay healthy. The only team that really should be signing him is the Baltimore Ravens, right? When we sit down and look at it. And that, I think that's why his market is a little bit down right now, is because nobody wants to do the negotiations for the Baltimore Ravens. Nobody wants to sit there and go, hey, Lamar, we're going to give you 3 years, $150 million. This is blah, blah, blah. This much guaranteed, this is guaranteed. And if this happens, you get this year one. And then he's going to take it back to Baltimore because they have 5 days to match that offer, any offer that he gets. And Baltimore's going to say, great, thank you. Let's sign it and come on back to Baltimore. And then you're going to be that team that goes, we just wasted all that time and effort to sign this guy to a contract just to give him right back to Baltimore. So nobody's going to do that for him. Nobody's going to do that. But
1 second, Joe. But what if? That's the thing. You keep saying that Baltimore's automatically going to do it. But what if they don't? That's the thing, is I'm willing to put in that legwork, because what if they don't? I get Lamar Jackson in that scenario if they don't. That's like this idea that, like, nobody's going to do it because the Baltimore Ravens are automatically going to match it. They might not if you come with that deal, and then you get Lamar Jackson.
See, and I don't remember, and I can't find anywhere on this, but I remember as a kid growing up or a teenager, there was a guy, Steve Hutchinson, was the guard for the Minnesota Vikings, and he went to the Seattle Seahawks, and it must not have been a franchise. It must have just been a transaction tag. But they put in the contract, it was either Steve Hutchinson or Nate Burleson, one of them going back and forth from the Vikings to the Seattle or vice versa. They put in the contract that if you played in the city of or in the state of Minnesota for more than 7 games, you have to automatically become the highest paid player at that position. It was some weird ass contract like that where they were like, all right, see you later. You can go to Seattle. We're not doing that for you. We're not going to do that. So what if you did that? Like Tony said, and I don't know. Jake was telling me, and he watches a lot more. He makes sure that he sits down at 5:00 and watches NFL Total Access now. So my son Jake was telling me that Lamar Jackson deal, and I haven't checked into it, so I could be dead wrong. Maybe you guys know that the Lamar Jackson 3-year, $133 million guaranteed contract was giving him $60 million in the first year, is what they were saying. That's a lot of money. And if you want, and I was thinking that's the way that you have to structure it to get the Ravens out of it, is to structure a ton of money up front. But if they're already offering $60 million in the first year, I mean, what more can you go to? Are you going to have to give him $100 million just to sign, and then that wins him over? I think it's crazy. But the reason I'm saying the Ravens have to bring him back, Tony, is because Lamar Jackson, we've all been talking about how he's injury prone, or not injury prone, but he's been injured the last 2 seasons. He's missed 5 games in each of the last 2 seasons. But Ravens, even though your backup quarterback was a Pro Bowl quarterback this year, right? By default or whatever, he's still a Pro Bowl quarterback. Your record without Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens is 3-7. 3-7 in the 10 games that he missed. One year they were 8-what? They were 7-5 or whatever, and they finished 8-9. Like, you're missing out on them. You went 1-4 the year without him, with 5 games, and then you went 2-3 last year without him. You're not winning the games without him. So even if you try to prove that you don't need Lamar, you actually do need him because that's your system's set up for him.
Yeah, he's a much better passer than Tyler Huntley. And Lamar has gotten much better since his rookie year throwing the ball. And I think that the Ravens kind of see what that next level looks like when we talk about the dual threat passer. Yeah, rushing is his primary strength, but you still got to be able to be at least efficient through the air. Tyler Huntley, not sufficient. He can't throw the ball, and teams know that you're running the ball against when you have him in there. I think another thing that was interesting that was exposed, and I think it was Adam Schefter, maybe one of the reporters, not beat writers, one of the reporters, the big mainstream reporters, was kind of like defending their honor a little bit because the original report was that he got offered $200 million guaranteed and turned it down. And the reporter defended himself and said that the contract actually went up. Like the 133 that Lamar is saying was the bare minimum guaranteed part of the deal. And this thing would have went up to 3 years, $200 million if he met certain lines. And some of them were easier than other ones. So I don't know if I'm Lamar Jackson in that situation, like you guys are saying, you get in there, something about the franchise tag, so you can't be held hostage at the end of the contract, 3 years, and then you move on. I feel like that solved the problem for everyone because the Ravens are worried about investing for long-term because of injury, and Lamar Jackson is worried about investing for short-term because of injury. I feel like that little middle 3-year deal would have been perfect.
So I think that it's in Lamar's best interest with Todd Monken coming in, having to learn a new offense, that he needs to figure out what's going on sooner rather than later. Like the Ravens, on the way I'm thinking about it, is like they're fine. They re-signed Tyler Huntley, and they're fine going in, and maybe they draft another guy, and they just play really good defense and run the football, and they're the Ravens, and they'll win 9 games this year. Like the ceiling with Lamar Jackson is 14 games and a Super Bowl appearance. You know, like to me, Lamar needs to get there and say, oh, I want to throw the ball. You have a pro style offense. Look what Stetson Bennett's able to do in your offense. I can do way more than he can. Like imagine all the different things that Todd Monken's going to have at his disposal with an athlete like Lamar Jackson. They also are able to go into the draft and say, okay, we lost Josh Oliver. How are we like they're going to be able to go into the draft and say we need to get receiver, we need to do this. Like the GM's already kind of gotten in hot water, I guess you could say, with Rashad Bateman. But yeah, let's go out there and see if we can get this guy. If you knew Lamar Jackson was coming back and what the money was going to be, they could go get DJ Chark, who had a nice year, you know, like some nice plays when he was healthy with the Lions, has had a nice career when he was with the Jaguars. You could be out there actively in this market trying to make this a better situation, maybe getting involved in the trade market with some of these other wide receivers that could be made available. But if you don't know what's going on, the longer this thing drags, the worse it is for Lamar. Like playing-wise, not money-wise, playing-wise.
So I went back and looked at what I was telling you guys about Steve Hutchinson and Nate Burleson stuff. So in the 2011 CBA, they made it where it's illegal to do that now anymore after that. So that's why we haven't seen it done anymore. But yeah, it was something happened where Minnesota signed Steve Hutchinson to go back on the story. And then Seattle said, hey, we're taking Nate Burleson from you guys. And they put in there, if Nate Burleson played 5 games in the state of Minnesota, that his contract would be fully guaranteed. So that was the issue. But they've now changed the rules. So that's why you don't see it anymore. But anyway, so I wasn't wrong. It wasn't the Mandela effect. It was actually there.
The Mandela effect.
I have heard the story before, but I don't know it well enough to pick you up on it. But it is interesting, and I think okay, let's just we'll end it with this on Lamar. What's your ideal situation? Like if you could have, I'll start. If I could have Lamar go anywhere, it would be to the Washington Commanders. That gets another great quarterback out of the AFC. That adds to the NFC East, which I think is just becoming a really great division. I know they get so much hype and people get tired of it, but when I look around at what's going on there with Jalen Hurts potentially being the best, the Cowboys always being extremely polarizing, the Giants, where when we get into and the offseason's done, I'm gonna be pretty high on the Giants and what they've done, like what they've done defensively, and the wide receiver room might not be flashy, but there's players in there, and if they get a solid wide receiver in the draft, like they've put together a nice little room. Now all of a sudden you put Lamar Jackson with Eric Bieniemy and all of those players. I don't need to name them. All those players they have on offense and that defense. The NFC East becomes extremely fun, competitive. All of those games are interesting. You know the NFL is going to force those games on primetime on us. They always have a Giants-Cowboys Sunday night game. It's going to be really fun this year.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that some of these teams in the NFC aren't looking at the landscape and going, Lamar Jackson is going to put us kind of head and shoulders over the top of everyone else and give us an advantage. And some of these teams that have, average to good quarterbacks, but they're paying them already $35-40 million a year. Why don't they throw their names in the hat? Like, hey, we'll send you Jared Goff and a bunch of picks for him, or we'll send you Dak Prescott and a bunch of picks for him. But I think my favorite is, and I'm thinking the same as you, Tony, my favorite's the Atlanta Falcons. That's my favorite. I think that you get it, like you said, you get him out of the AFC, you put him in the NFC. He's already got a star tight end there to throw to, like he does Mark Andrews in Baltimore. They've got a very QB favorable wide receiver in Drake London that I think can develop into something for him. I like Atlanta. Arthur Smith is really creative, so he's going to come up with a bunch of ways to use Lamar Jackson. I think he's good. Joe.
So I got two teams for you. And one, I'm always with Tony with the Washington Commanders. Eric Bieniemy didn't go over there for no reason, right? He's not going over there to coach up Sam Howell or whatever they got over there. He's going over there for a reason. And I think one of them was, hey, we're Mike Washington. And Dan Snyder cleared out his office today, which means the sell for the Washington team is imminent and it's coming up. It's whoever that new ownership, make a big splash. You go and do it. The other one would be the Indianapolis Colts. Why not? Why not bring him in there? Are you going to spend 2 first-round picks on Lamar Jackson, or take one of these? You're going to get the third best, fourth best quarterback in the draft. So it's up to you if you want to take the proven guy or not. And then here it is, Tony. Here it is. I just thought about it right now. Let's do the conspiracy right now. How about this team, the Green Bay Packers? Why not the Green Bay Packers? They're going, hey, Jets, give us a couple first-round picks. And then they took those 2 first-round picks, and they send them out over to Baltimore, and they have Lamar Jackson in Green Bay.
That's genius. That is actually genius.
Just saying.
It's it's not as crazy as maybe you made it sound, but I think that the Packers really think Jordan Love is their guy. If the Packers just operate like they're some family-friendly organization, they're not. They're very shrewd business operators, and it's why they've been able to be successful for 30-something plus years, because they just are that. That's just the way they are. But one team that I think is in the NFC North, Joe, that we didn't talk about, is the Minnesota Vikings. Like, I could see the Minnesota Vikings saying, like, we can move Kirk Cousins and get picks back for him, and that will help us get rid of, like, what we're going to have to give up to get him. This will put us in a situation where we can afford Lamar Jackson and we can have this. I don't know how Justin Jefferson feels about that, but I think the Vikings are in a good spot where you could move Kirk Cousins for at least a first next year and maybe like a second and a third in some portion.
I think the biggest story behind this is not where Lamar goes. The biggest story is if Baltimore loses out on Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson leaves Baltimore, who's the quarterback? Baltimore takes a big dive because you've already missed out on every free agent quarterback here, and you're not eligible to get a top guy this year. So does that mean that we're looking at them going for Williams next year in the draft? Because, I mean, who really going to go with Snoop Huntley as your quarterback next year? Who they just he's available right now too. Anybody can sign him to an offer sheet, and you don't have to give up anything for him.
Yeah,
For Huntley, Baltimore already signed him. They brought him back yesterday, I believe. You got to look it up. Make sure I'm pretty sure he was rumored to go back there on like a 1 year, 4 million, or 1 million, 8 million or something. 1 year, 8 million.
last I heard they were tendering him, but I think that a lot of quarterbacks, even average quarterbacks, will win in Baltimore still. Not be the same. Not be the same. Like, I think that the Ravens each year, as long as Lamar's healthy, could go on like a crazy run and win a Super Bowl. I sincerely think that with the coaching staff, the defenses they put out there, and just Lamar Jackson, his ability to take over games at times. But I still think even with Snoop Huntley, the Ravens will be in the thick of things for the wild card race for that 7th seed or so, and then they can evaluate from there. They'd have a crap ton of picks from trading Lamar available to.
I don't see anything out here.
I also think that they could be a team, like you said, that would be willing to take on a veteran quarterback. I don't understand why teams that are already overpaying quarterbacks don't want to at least look into Lamar thing. The Vikings are a perfect example. Not that they're overpaying Kirk, but your pay raise is another $10 million a year. You already got QB pay problems, so we can manage it. You know what I mean? And same thing as I was saying with Dallas. If they wanted to trade Dak out of there, a team that would really use Dak in their play action scheme in their game somewhere in the league, and then you could bring in Lamar Jackson.
They brought in Josh Oliver, Baltimore blocking tight end.
There you go.
Maybe that's a Lamar. That's a demand. Maybe he was like, "Hey, Vikings, I'm coming to the Twin Cities, but you got to bring my guy Josh Oliver."
We'll see what happens, man. It looks like it could get ugly if they don't figure something out like tomorrow. Lamar's probably not going to play. He's probably not going to play.
He shouldn't have played 2 years ago, but I think that Lamar conducts himself with a certain level of dignity, and he doesn't feel like one of those people that is like, I'm taking down all of my stuff or whatever. He's like, I'm a football player and a businessman, and I'm going to get what I want, and I'm going to play football at a super high level. And your team is going to win a lot of games when I'm on the field. And I just want to see him. I would love to see him in this offense with Todd Monken and a healthy Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews. Like I said, bring in DJ Chark after this. Find a way to bring OBJ there. Like, wouldn't that be fun if the Ravens were able to just go out and make a splash and do that? I don't know.
I don't think the Ravens are ever going to do it, Tony. I think they've had so many opportunities on so many wide receivers that have become available. I think that they're okay with saying our strength is running the ball anyways. We'll make do with Rashad Bateman out wide and hope that we land someone else in the draft to go with them. Should we answer some of these questions before we go?
I just want to show you one thing before we go.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yesterday we ended it with Carr, and today we ended it with Jimmy G. Speak for Jimmy.
I'm G, and I just want to say I don't want to force any relationships with any of my teammates. I want to be authentic relationships with my teammates.
I can't wait to mentor Hayden Hooker or Jake Haener or whoever they draft in the 3rd round.
Will Levis at 7 overall. Anyways, here's one. Who's a better duo for cornerbacks, Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore, or Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard?
I'm going with Ramsey and Howard.
Me too.
I'm going Diggs and Gilmore.
Okay.
Who should they pick at 21, Tony?
Oh, man. Now that Parham's back, Everett's still on the roster. And for whatever reason, everybody just keeps trying to force Dalton Schultz on me. Like, I don't think tight end is going to be the option. They still got Trey McKitty. So now you have this concern with Eckler. I'm not going to say his name, but maybe that's the guy, because you're not drafting a wide receiver in the 1st round. So it's like, does a edge rusher fall down there that you really like? Like, is Lucas Van Ness there? Is Keon White there? You guys know my crush at defensive end is Derek Hall, but I think that might be a little early. what I'd love to see the Chargers do is say, hey, there's not a player we love that we definitely need. Who wants 21? Come get it. Who needs a tackle? Who needs to get better on the offensive line? Because we just paid Pipkins. So now let us trade back to, even back into the second round and pick up another second and another third or something crazy like that. Like, bring players from the first 3 rounds that are going to be contributors and starters, because I think that's kind of been the issue with the team.
I'm with you, Tony. I'm with you. I honestly, and Tony in the chat, Tony on the screen, honestly have no idea who I want the Chargers to draft at this very moment in time. I've been pulled 15 different directions with my own opinion, and it's gone as far as I'm even starting to be okay with drafting a running back. So, and I'm not going to say his name, even though I said it a million times on the video yesterday. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think that trading back's an option also. I feel like if you aren't in the top 15 picks and you don't know for sure you're going to get this elite player, you're not going to get Rashawn Slater, maybe move back a little bit and make that pick a little less risky when you got another extra pick or two off of it.
Tony, you mentioned something, but why wouldn't the Chargers take a wide receiver first round?
Joe. Tony asked Mike and Tony. He did not ask Joe.
I'm asking you. Like you asking me.
Here's why you don't, Joe. Here's why you don't take a wide receiver in the first round. And they could, obviously, but you have the restructuring makes it almost impossible for them to get rid of Mike or Keenan next year too. Then you're going to have Palmer, who's been increasing in his ability and talent, and they love him there. Like, even the coach and the GM and everybody's including him when they talk about wide receivers now. I think that's a big deal. They're going to look to extend him potentially next offseason, right? That this is year 3, so be going into year 4, will be in the last year of his deal. They could be looking out some way to try and extend him to keep him there where he doesn't have a monster year 4, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, his market is 20-something plus million a year. So now you're paying 3 wide receivers crazy amounts of money to put them there. Like, you can go and get really good wide receiver talent in the second round of this draft. You can find speed there. You can find route runners. You can find difference makers, red zone threats. Like, the meat of this draft to me for wide receiver, for what they need for wide receiver, for edge rusher, is all right there in the second round, is in that end of that first. So if I can find a way to get back to 28 or later and end up with 3 picks in between 30 and 70, and I can get 3 of those guys, I can go get myself a tight end, I can get an edge rusher, and I get a wide receiver, all right there, that are guys that are going to be reliable depth, if not starters, by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I feel like what we need is not necessarily a wide receiver that's going to pluck into our lineup immediately. We need speed to stretch the field. That's what we need, and you can get that, like Tony's saying, a little later in the draft. It doesn't need to be a superstar wide receiver. It just needs to be someone that could fit the role that we need for Herbert to return to a 40-touchdown, 5,000-yard player again.
What we also need is an explosive edge rusher. Like, we need somebody that can go in there and just, like, their split time is 1.5 seconds, and they're in the back. Like, it's that kind of player. They might not have polished moves or be ready to pass rush, but they just have bend and explosion. All the stuff that all the scouts are always talking about. Look at them in the loop drill, and look at that bend, that natural flexibility. That's what we need. We need one of those players to come in for our aging, give a break to those guys. Joe froze again. All Charger talk. Ruined Joe.
And with how they've handled it, Tony, in this position specifically, just keep an eye out for linebacker, which could be worse than running back, but just keep an eye out. That could become something that they look at and they go, if we can get a guy and we don't have to pay him for 5 years, we're going to Kenneth Murray this thing. They traded up a lot of picks. Not a lot. I think they traded 2 picks to move up out of the late second round into the late first round to get Kenneth Murray when they drafted him a couple years ago.
You asked for this conversation, by the way. This is on you.
I just asked one question. It was this is why. And then you guys went into a million different things.
All right. Here we go. Thoughts on Baker Mayfield. This is the last one. Last question.
Thoughts on.
Baker or Kyle Trask? Kyle Trask, as Alex Robson would say.
This is Baker Mayfield's job. He will be the starter to open the season. Baker has, to me, this is his last opportunity to be a starter and to win a job and keep, like, if he can play 15 to 17 games this year and get the Bucs to 8 or 9 wins, and the team can be fighting for playoff spots and be relevant and keep the Bucs out of an opportunity to get one of the top QBs next year, if he can give them hope, maybe they don't move on it. I think it would have to be a playoff appearance for that to happen, but I'm in for the ride. Like you guys know, I'll ride with Baker. It's fun.
Show him the helmet, Joe. Show him the helmet. Show him the helmet.
Fuck it.
What helmet are you talking about? Never heard of it.
Rashad White season, though, right?
Baker's my guy right there. Baker Mayfield.
Game-winning yard drive. Yeah.
Look, here's the thing about it. Baker Mayfield is not a top 10 quarterback. He's an average quarterback, but he's something that he's going to be able to win in this league when you have the right people around him. And you have him in the NFC with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're going to tell me that Baker's not good enough to be a 6 or 7 seed quarterback in the NFC? They give playoff spots away over there. You're going to be good enough. There's no other quarterbacks to really compete with in the NFC. So Baker Mayfield's going to be all right. He might be the second best team in the NFC South, and there'll be the Saints and then them. But yeah, Baker Mayfield's going to make some noise in the NFC. It's good for players like Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield and all these players to go to the NFC right now that aren't loaded with quarterbacks, because you just got to be good enough to make that spot.
Well, I think there's obviously more to football than just who's playing quarterback, but it depends on what Todd Bowles can do with the defense. I thought the Jamel Dean, them keeping their cornerback, it seemed like he was going to go away in free agency. They were able to keep Levante David, which is great. They still have a lot of veterans and a lot of talent on that side of the ball. If they can play as good as they played last year, then yes, they're going to have a shot to win 8, 9, 10 games. I think it's going to be interesting what they do with their second running back situation. Rashad White paired with, who is that? Is that a rookie in this draft? Do they wait and try and get a Kareem Hunt for 2 years, $7 million? Like, it's going to be interesting to see what they do there. If they trade away Mike Evans, I think that's a mistake to me. Just let Mike Evans is the best offensive Buccaneers player of all time.
Ooh.
It's not a long list, Mike.
Yeah,
it's Mike Allstott. It's Warwick Dunn. Like, it's not a long list.
Those guys are from a long ass time ago. Those guys are old.
Sean King.
Those guys are somehow older. These guys are somehow older than you guys.
Yes, these are the guys that I grew up watching when they were wearing the creamsicle uniforms. Like, this
Vincent
goes back.
Jackson.
Michael Pittman Sr.
Round 1 of the playoffs, when the 4-seeded Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield are taking on the 5-seeded Atlanta Falcons with Taylor Heineke in the playoffs. And it's like, oh, damn. And then 1 through 3 is just the entire NFC East.
Oh, don't diss my guy Desmond Ridder like that. He's starting to play.
Yeah, Jake's actually in trouble.
I was gonna bring that up, Tony. That is a nightmare situation for you, where Heineke and Ridder got to battle it out for that one spot in the Atlanta offense.
It's a dream scenario. I win no matter who starts for the Falcons this year.
Yeah, what's going on with this, Joe? We're on a 3-game winning streak. Just went 3-2 last night. Ended the Houston Roughnecks 4-0 streak and did it easily. Made it. Ben DiNucci looked like he was throwing out there. He threw 4 interceptions.
I said, after that game, I said, "What do you want?" And he hasn't hit me back up of what he wants.
Ben DiNucci is out there playing like what we wanted Johnny Manziel to be in the NFL. Just, you never know. Each play could be massive success or complete failure. Unfortunately, Manziel in the NFL is just all failure. But Ben DiNucci is the only quarterback in XFL history that could turn over the ball 3 times a game and lead the team to a championship.
Ben DiNucci.
And there was one where Josh Gordon didn't run the fade route. He was supposed to run the fade route, didn't run the fade route. It's 4th and 20, and Josh Gordon stops his route at 10. I don't understand what he's doing either. And Ben DiNucci chewed him out on the sideline. I was like, damn, Ben, chewing out the XFL's marquee player now.
Wait, where's that C?
There you go.
Ben DiNucci is only tearing up the XFL because our guy, Trace McSorley, doesn't want to go over there.
Yes, Trace Mix. We are talking about the XFL. This has gone on way too long. Thank you for stopping by MJT Football and hanging out with Mike, Joe, and myself, Tony. We are extremely grateful for your time, for you guys getting in here. The chat's been on fire 2 days in a row. MJT Football is three friends talking football, but we're always looking for a fourth. So subscribe, become one of the fours. We will see you guys next week talking. Hopefully we have some definite answers on whether or not Kyle Allen or Josh Allen will be the starter for the Buffalo Bills. See you next week.
Up and I eat cold pizza off the counter. That's what I do.
Soon Lamar could buy the XFL.